Garry's Mod, the game that keeps on giving. Whether it's playing around with the Source Engine's physics, joining a roleplay server, or playing with the ragdolls, both of which could be potentially questionable. We all know what you do in your free time. Or simply exploring. Garry's Mod has it all. I seem to come back to Garry's Mod a fair bit, and more often than not, I seem to be drawn to its seemingly infinite number of maps, and being able to explore other people's creations. But have you ever noticed how liminal some of these maps can feel? Sometimes unintentionally? And why does Gmod have so many of them? Today I wanted to dive back into Garry's Mod, and look into its liminality, both unintentionally and with the liminal space craze, also look into the very intentional liminal space maps, and do a little showcase of them as well. So grab your tool gun, sounded better in my head, and join me as we look into liminal spaces in Gmod. In my last Gmod video, which, would you believe it, was uploaded in December 2024, I covered the fascination for exploration in the game, where a lot of the fun in playing Gmod is simply exploring user-created maps, and I highly recommend checking it out after this. I very briefly covered liminal spaces in that video, and now that I want to talk about Gmod again, I figured, hey, let's have ourselves a little chinwag on liminal spaces. So for those of you who might not be fully familiar, liminal spaces are spaces, or places, that are in between other places, like a transitional area between points A to B. So in a general sense, something like a hallway, or even a lobby. In a deeper sense, it's that transitional state where you move through it, and not linger or stay there for long. And it's this, along with the whole aesthetic, that I think has the strongest appeal with liminal spaces' popularity on the internet. Many liminal spaces are aesthetically pleasing, or just interesting to look at. And it's easy to see why many have created their own stories and interpretations, inspired solely from these places. And of course, we can't talk about liminal spaces without mentioning the Backrooms. By the way, I'm really excited for the Backrooms movie. For those who don't know what the Backrooms are, in an extremely simple summary, it all started with this photo that was posted on the internet, with a little story about accidentally no-clipping into this place. Essentially not just phasing through a wall and coming out the other side, but somehow teleporting into another dimension, and being trapped in this endless maze of fluorescent lights, soggy carpets, and piss-yellow walls. All the while feeling like you're alone in this place, but at the same time, feel like you're being watched. And from here, many, and I mean many, stories and interpretations spawned, including the movie. So, with all this in mind, I did think about checking out some liminal space and Backrooms games on Steam, but there are so many of them with varying review scores, and I already have so many games that I haven't played yet, that I thought, nuts to this, I'll just play some Gmod instead, and look for liminal spaces there. Most maps in Half-Life and Half-Life 2 have some form of liminality to them that I don't even need to specifically search for liminal space maps, but I thought I would showcase a few of them because they're awesome. Okay, let's boot up the old workshop. It'd help if I could spell. I always love the amount of creative ideas on the workshop, and it's user creation like this that I feel makes a game last forever. The first map I thought about checking out was GM Big City Improved, made by AX25, A times 25? And while I think the original version has that eerie, almost otherworldly feel to it, for having such an empty city, I wanted to see what improvements this one had. GM Big City is a classic map, one that many players have said has this uneasiness to it, as you have this large, bustling city, completely devoid of anyone. It kinda reminds me of the opening scene in The Amiga Man. I also had a dream like this once, where I went to the city and it was eerily empty. It's this absence of people, where people normally should be, that plays into liminal spaces a fair bit, as well as I guess the aesthetic choice of the city layout. Many maps in Gmod give you that feeling, like you're not truly alone. This map is definitely fun to just roam around, or even roleplay. I'll admit, I'm not sure what improvements were made here, but overall, this is one of the go-to city maps in Gmod. In another video, I talked about Brutalist Architecture being popular in a lot of maps, especially in Half-Life 1, because I think it's easy to make more squarish buildings in the level editor, and it plays to the engine's limitations. I feel like because of this, and in a way because Half-Life 2's buildings are very Brutalist inspired, what with the Eastern European setting and everything, we get a lot of maps and locations that may aesthetically look liminal. Next we have GM Abhorrent Spaces, made by Womp Rat. Not sure if it's meant to be abhorrent, but I thought I'd see if this map really is abhorrent. This map has you take a little journey in a variety of different locations, abruptly going from one scenario to another. It really does give off that dreamlike feel. And once again, I had a dream similar to this here, where I visited an alternate version of my city, and right behind the classic arcade cabinets was police tape and those plastic door curtains. You know, the ones you see in warehouses or the back of supermarkets, the Backrooms. And behind that area were two large wooden double doors with window panes, and through the windows you could see those familiar yellow walls. Yeah, sometimes my dreams are pretty fun, I guess. This map is fantastic, especially for those who love the Backrooms. I don't want to show too much here, but I highly recommend exploring it properly, and not using Noclip until after you think you've explored everything. Next, I checked out Closed World Liminal Space by Cluna, and I'll admit, the whole fake indoor neighborhood is super intriguing to me, because it feels so surreal. This one is a small map, but its simplicity I feel works well with liminal space and dreamlike aesthetics. You have this familiar but uniform neighborhood with empty houses and looking like it's in a hangar or something, giving off this intriguing but also unsettling feeling, like it's very unnatural. It feels like a facsimile of a neighborhood, and I feel it's this type of imitation or something's not quite right feeling that fits really well in liminal space maps. The whole neighborhood thing kinda reminded me of this Halloween mod for Half-Life 1, where it let you enter many houses in this small neighborhood, but due to the engine's limitations, the houses look very liminal in their simple interiors, and a strange mix of cozy and creepy. Kinda like some of the liminal space images where you have the comfortable, familiar, mixed with the creepy unknown, like you're home at night, but yet something's different, like you're in some kind of dream or something. Also, this mod came out in 2002, so well before the whole liminal space internet craze. Let's have a look at GM Liminal Retrospection by Alpharex, which I again will admit was immediately intrigued by simply from the screenshots, and the dreamlike aesthetic of combining the familiar with the surreal. We start off in the pool rooms, which is I guess a branch of the Backrooms, or one of the levels. Again, I know there are variations, but I'm not super familiar with the deep lore. This map is amazing, and it looks stunning on the Source engine. There are so many different places to explore, and fun set pieces, that once again, it does feel like those dreams that go from one scenario to another. And speaking of dreams, this setup here reminds me of those odd dreams I have, where all I want to do is to shit in peace, but I can't find a damn toilet. Wow, I should really lay off the cheese before bed. This looks like a good spot. God damn it! This green field area reminds me of the obscure Robin Williams movie, Toys, if anyone has seen that. It definitely has that surreal look and feel. Like the other map, I don't want to show off too much, as to not spoil it, but there are a lot of fun and interesting locations to explore, and I definitely recommend checking this one out. Now, when talking about liminal spaces in something like Garry's mod, I feel like it holds more meaning in its aesthetic and fandom quality. Because if we were simply talking about just physical hallways and lobbies, I don't think it would have the same impact. What I'm trying to get at is, Garry's mod has a certain look and feel, a certain je ne sais quoi, vibe, that I think tickles the fancy of those who enjoy liminal space photography, and even the fandom and backstories that go with them. Garry's mod allows us to create these interesting places and even little backstories that go with them, or in many cases, leave the interpretations up to the player, letting their imaginations run wild. I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's quite cool, and I love that Garry's mod allows people to share these creations in such a fun way, and how easy it is to browse and play these creations. Finally, I decided to check out Liminal Gallery I and II by Shady Milk, which seems to be quite popular and seems to play on the whole museum and art installation archetype, which also seems to mesh with liminal and surreal aesthetics quite a lot. I love these maps, and I love the sheer variety of the set pieces. It really did feel like this obscure art installation, and I'm all for it. I also really liked the use of the watermelons for subtle storytelling, as well as what I thought were subtle references to movies and other games. There were even some humorous bits, and again, this quest to find the perfect toilet it seems, as one of them was way out in the open, another had a door that wouldn't close once you've opened it, and then finally, the map literally ends with a proper bathroom. Only good luck trying to keep the door closed if there's no lock. Occupied. There is also something else that this map, and many others, touch upon, and it's something that I think applies to our fascination with liminal spaces. Nostalgia. Some of these maps have recreations of what I assume are people's childhood homes, sometimes warped in a surreal nature, or sometimes it's an amalgamation of memories, like your childhood home, a shopping mall, or even a dentist's office. It's like piecing together different memories in a dream, but getting them all twisted, merged together, and imperfect, because the more we remember something, the less we do. Speaking of malls, there's something about an abandoned mall which I find both fascinating and bittersweet. It reminds me of a time gone by, one that I was in, as well as for others before me. A place that was once bustling with life, now empty, and as much as we may want to go back, we can, but no one is there anymore. Sometimes I feel like liminal spaces can be that peaceful 4 a.m. tranquility, but in other cases, it could be something more negative. It could be that job you hate, a difficult time or thought, but just know that this too will pass. But the more we linger and stay there, in this transitional space, the more we may end up being trapped there. Like some kind of purgatory or limbo. You don't want to end up stuck in the subways of your mind, the backrooms of your mind? Maybe liminal spaces really are the friends we made along the way. I don't know why this suddenly reminded me of Master Splinter being trapped in another dimension and meditating in limbo. Maybe Master Splinter is one of the few people who survived the backrooms. And speaking of, have you considered subscribing? If you want more content with interesting discussions about video games, fun reviews, and my failed attempts at comedy, then subscribe today. I'll admit, I'm no expert when it comes to the fandom, or even the backstories of, say, the Backrooms, but I've noticed a lot of maps that have liminal spaces also have a very dreamlike quality about them. Another popular fandom that often merges with liminal spaces is Dreamcore. Dreamcore is a surreal aesthetic that is usually done with digital graphics and often blends the familiar with the weird. There's also weirdcore, but I'll keep it simple here. And as the name implies, Dreamcore often incorporates the surrealness of dreams into its aesthetic. And with the nostalgia thrown in, oftentimes it's things like empty playgrounds, retro malls, or infinite hallways, or even something like a cozy house surrounded by an abyss. Any 90s kid would remember the surrealness of the early CGI textbook covers, or something like Myst or Encarta. Believe it or not, this aesthetic has a name too, Utopian Scholastic. But I digress. But if we go back to Garry's mod maps, you don't even have to load up a liminal space map to find liminal spaces in Garry's mod, as most maps have it in one way or another. And speaking of, we need not even look any further than GM Construct. The flat plains, Brutalist Architecture, and empty spaces all give off a liminal space vibe in this simple but fun little sandbox playground. I feel like video games are perfect to recreate these types of worlds, and in a way, possibly the best way to recreate people's dreams, as it gives us the opportunity to share these ideas and allows us to explore them ourselves. When it comes to liminal spaces, the surreal, and dreamlike aesthetics, Garry's mod is a treasure trove of these ideas, and is possibly the closest thing to experiencing these without the need for an expensive art installation or lucid hallucinations. And as long as there is human fascination for these visuals and ideas, there will always be mediums to show these off and let people experience them. Now, if you excuse me, I'm going to find liminal spaces in real life, but I can't noclip in real life, and, well, I wouldn't want to end up here now, would I? Hello? Thank you so much for watching. What are your favorite liminal space maps in Gmod, or in real life? Let me know in the comments, I'd like to check them out. If you like this video, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and share with your friends. Have a good one everyone, and I will see you all next time. Guys, I think I'm lost.